Well, ladies and gentlemen, it is my distinct pleasure to introduce the Chairwoman of the Senate Committee on Agriculture, and she is always such a great sport about joining us for our summits and sharing her key insights. So without further ado, please welcome Chairwoman Debbie Stabenow.
Well, good afternoon. Good afternoon. Thank you, Sarah. Agri-Pulse does such a wonderful job every year. I really look forward to coming. It's a great room full of a lot of really important people. And so I think we ought to be able to get anything done we want to get done, right? Don't you think, Dan? And thank you, Senator Roberts, for escorting me in to the room. I appreciate it very much. I know that I missed my friend, and he is my friend, Senator Bozo. I'm so glad that he was here, and Secretary Vilsack. We are working very closely together on a whole number of fronts. And I know that I'm the last person between you, and I saw a very nice bar set up out there and food. So I am very cognizant of that you have hung in here all day, and I appreciate your hanging in there till the very end of the day. But, you know, I want to take just a moment to broadly, I know that Secretary Vilsack talks broadly about the rural economy as well, and I think your theme this year, revitalizing rural revenues, is really important. It's important in the context of what I want us to accomplish in a farm bill, and yes, we want to get a farm bill done. I'll talk more about that. It's just got to be one that can get bipartisan support and get across the finish line, and I'm anxious to do that. But when we talk about the opportunities for agriculture and rural America, Farm Bill is an important piece. It is not the only piece. And I think looking broadly, we want to be moving on all fronts to be able to support agriculture. We all want rural communities to thrive. I grew up in one of them. And I certainly want places like Clare, where I grew up, to thrive. And I want folks that are going to college to be able to come home and know they can start a business and work on the family farm and be able to raise their family there. That's what we want, those of us who care very much about rural communities. And we want our small towns to be strong schools. We want to have quality health care and child care and mental health services and high-speed internet, which we're working on. We're getting there. We're working on it right now. And we want to make sure that we have vibrant main streets. So there's a series of goals that involve the capacity, and I looked at the program today, which I think is excellent, of all the different pieces that need to be happening, and that we need to really invest broadly, both in quality of life for rural communities and also income on and off the farm and what that means for people living in rural communities. You know, I think, and I know that the Secretary talked about the bio-based economy, there's a real opportunity to continue to grow through the bio-based economy. When I launched back in 2014 in the Farm Bill, my Grow It Here, Make It Here initiative, it was to focus on bio-based manufacturing, which was really just getting started then. And I remember when we announced it in Michigan, Ford Motor Company, which through Lear, I don't know, anybody here from there, was making bio-based foam seats. Do we have? Yes, so soybeans. And they're doing a lot of research on soybeans. Yes. I mean, all kinds of things are being researched, right? Tires, I mean, you could go on and on and on. Obviously, all kinds of products for corn and so on. But in this case, it was soybeans. And Lear, to this day, they are using soybeans for the foam in their seats. And so when we announced the program, they gave me a seat. So I was carrying around this seat in my car everywhere I went in Michigan. I go, there's soy-based foam in these seats. And if you get hungry, you got something to eat. So it was, but people don't realize and how much this has grown and how much opportunity there is to continue to grow this. We now have nearly 4 million American jobs dependent on bio-based products and industries, and so much more that we can do. So when we think broadly, when we think leveraging, adding value, all of those things, all the value adds, the bio-based economy is really important. I was so glad Secretary Vilsack recently renewed the Bioeconomy Council and the Bioeconomy Coordination Committee to really, again, hone in on this. I think this is a very important, it's markets, it's jobs, and it's opportunity. The other thing is biofuels, which continue to create a stable market for farmers that is vital to rural communities, that increases our energy security, meets our commitment to address the climate crisis. All of these things very, very important. And I do want to underscore, because a lot of us have weighed in successfully on this. And I want to thank the Biden-Harris administration. We are now blending the highest volumes of ethanol in history. This is a good thing. Nobody thinks this is a good thing? I think this is a good thing. I think this is a good thing. We have new tax incentives that position farmers to provide critical feedstock to decarbonize our aviation sector. Again, I'm sure because of the Secretary's commitment to this, he talked about it, but I have also weighed in to make it clear that any update to the model, the GREET model, must give credit for conservation and for the work, the climate-smart conservation work that farmers are doing. There's a lot of opportunity there. And speaking of the climate crisis, we know it's hitting us over our head. We don't really, I hope there's not a debate anymore about what's happening on the weather and the changes. You know, we are a state that values 4 seasons, and we basically didn't have winter this year. And we have a whole lot of folks that are involved in winter tourism that are really hurting as a result of that this year, and a whole lot of folks that have orchards holding their breath when it heats up and the you know, trees begin to blossom, and we've seen this before, and then the freeze comes in May and wipes out the cherries, or wipes out the apples, or wipes out the peaches, and so on. So there's no question, based on science, that we are seeing the effects of basically 100 years of carbon pollution that just doesn't go away in the air, just doesn't go away. It goes up in the atmosphere and it stays there. And we're seeing the results of that. And what we are doing now, and farmers are the first ones on, you know, first environmentalists, first conservationists, care more about healthy soil, right? I mean, our farmers want carbon in the soil. I'll never forget when the corn growers came to us and wanted a healthy soils project. And yes, you know, we funded that, of course. But the twofer is, when it's in the soil, that's good. When it's not in the atmosphere, that is also good. And so what the strategies for our growers, our ranchers, our farmers, our foresters, our strategies right now that are not only good and successful for them, but frankly for all of us. We need that leadership. I mean, right now, what we have been doing so far in this area is through the Inflation Reduction Act has created about 67,000 new jobs in rural communities, including about 21,000 permanent jobs, and added you know, about $2 billion to the economy for workers. And what's most important, I think, about what we've been doing is that it's all voluntary, it's all popular programs that farmers have been doing and want more of. And when we first put the initial round of conservation money in, it was expected to, quote, ramp up, and then EQIP was, you know, oversubscribed 3 times by people who wanted that. And we are seeing more and more and more desire and in the leadership coming from our farmers. So we're doing a number of things to support them that we need to continue, frankly, at this time, with the investment that we received, that we were able to do in conservation, what we've now dubbed, you know, climate-smart conservation. And conservation was always smart. Always climate smart. But what we were able to do through this is the largest investment that I think we're going to see for a long, long time long time. And I just want to make sure our farmers don't lose that, because we're not going to get another shot at that amount of money for a long time. And this is the moment to make sure that they have it. So we also have done a lot in rural electricity, our rural electric co-ops. So very important, the largest investment since the New Deal to lower costs for our families and create jobs. And we've also, again, been creating new revenue opportunities for farmers, both on-farm efforts, renewable energy, and other opportunities as well. The new conservation funding is also helping farmers manage and reduce the costs of inputs like fertilizer, which we know have gone up, and working to bring input costs down, which are a serious issue for all of our growers. So these are important steps forward, and I was so pleased that a year ago, actually the first bill we passed out of committee was something that was a bipartisan effort called Growing Climate Solutions Act, which, thank you to so many people in this room who supported it. This was Senator Braun, Senator Bozeman, myself, to focus on what we can do to support farmers to help create voluntary carbon credit markets that work for farmers, that have integrity, that we can move forward on. And I appreciate the fact that we are seeing the administration move forward on that. Again, another revenue source that needs to be worked on, not all the way there yet, but a huge opportunity that we need to be focused on. I mentioned input costs, and it's so important as we're looking at innovative ways to reduce input costs and deal with supply chains and create opportunities for people in their own community. Very, very important. I noticed the Secretary talked about trade, and Senator Bozeman and I joined together, so appreciate our partnership and so appreciate Secretary Vilsack responding on trade. I've said to many of you before when we did our hearings on the next Farm Bill, top two things we heard from farmers is crop insurance and trade marketing money. And everybody wanted to double the amount of money in MAP and FMD, the marketing programs. In the traditional base of the Farm Bill, we didn't have those dollars, so we were creative, which is what this Farm Bill is going to take, in going to the Secretary and saying, the CCC can do this, would you join with us? And it basically put forward enough money to double for the next 5 years the trade marketing assistance, and that's what he did. And so now it's about making sure we're getting those funds out and that you're seeing them being used in an effective way. So let me just close by saying that from my perspective, we need, when we're talking about revenues, we're talking about rural communities, we're talking about what needs to be done, we have got to have an all-of-the-above approach. And that's true on this Farm Bill as well. We have to be willing to look broadly at what we need, and also what gets votes and what loses votes. This has to be bipartisan, which means we can't put forward something that loses all the Republicans or loses all the Democrats. And there are things being talked about right now that would do that, and they won't get us anywhere. So the Farm Bill is the art of the possible, the doable, as my partner will tell you. And it's about moving forward in a way that maximizes votes. Senator Roberts and I would not have gotten 87 votes in the last Farm Bill if we were picking a fight with groups. We try to build the coalition, bring it all together, which is so very, very important. Let me also indicate, and I feel like I need to say this for the record because there's just a lot of information out that's not accurate about nutrition versus the rest of the Farm Bill. When we achieved in the last Farm Bill the opportunity to do the first update on food and cooking practices and costs and so on that had been done in 50 years in SNAP. It was done in 1975, and then it was not done until we authorized it in this Farm Bill. When that small increase ended up with SNAP recipients, when that small increase of $1.65 per person ended up, not a penny of it came from the rest of the Farm Bill. That's not how it works. That is not how it works. Never has, and I don't think should. What we have is we need to be strengthening all parts of the Farm Bill. But what we've not done in the past is take from one title to do another. So, didn't take a penny, didn't take a penny, didn't take a penny. And that's really important as we look at the reality of what we are negotiating. Politically, it may have made a difference. And I have to say, you know, I've been around a long time, done 6 farm bills, helped to lead 3, I've led 3. Shoot me now. I can tell you that even though the margins are more narrow than they have ever been, the same fights come up every time. Every time. I've got every single time, and they never work. Never work. What we see is if we abandon the coalition, we don't get a farm bill. If we strengthen the coalition, if we talk about the far-reaching ways in which communities, you know, we got a whole lot of folks that don't understand why we have a farm bill, don't want to fund the farm bill. They didn't even want to fund the annual appropriations. We have to tell a story about rural America and about jobs and about opportunity that includes building the broadest coalition as possible. So, I just want to let you know, I'm about building that coalition. I've got a lot of ideas about the ways we can do what we need to do. We got to make sure that farmers are supported. Of course. Of course. And by the way, even though not every crop gets the commodity title, there are 22 crops that do, not every crop may get crop insurance, although if I say anything about crop insurance, he's going to attack me right now. So we've got 136 crops. Everybody's got access to conservation. I just want to say, large, small, big farm, small farm. That is a risk management tool everybody's got access to. And then they do have access to crop insurance as well, certainly. But we want the things with the biggest bang for the buck. Trade opportunities, what's the other side of the world or the other side of your city. There are opportunities to create new markets, to leverage, to create new revenue. That's what all of you have been talking about all day, which I'm so excited about, because we need to be focused on all of it. And I am the eternal optimist. And I believe that we will get a farm bill by focusing on building coalitions, on all of what needs to happen. But we're going to need your help to tell the story of the importance of the economy to what you do and what's happening in rural America, and have people understand food does not come from the grocery store. It comes from a whole lot of work in the riskiest business in the world. And so I appreciate so much having been involved as your partner. Thank you. It's up to you. It's up to you if you want a question or two. But it's up to you. You think it's too long?
No, we're fine. How about just one?
Sure. Happy
Okay.
to do questions. Yeah.
All right. So she's graciously agreed to take just one
Sure.
question here.
It's up to you.
So we had a little poll earlier about whether or not this crowd was optimistic about passing a farm bill this year, and the numbers weren't good.
Yeah.
In fact, this is normally an optimistic crowd. But can you outline what you see? I mean, obviously you said it's the art of the doable, it's possible, we hear all that. Is there more going on right now that we should know about that you can share so that there could be more optimism?
Well, this is a really important question, and let me say that that yes, we have 12 titles. We probably, I think, have 7 or 8 of which there's predominant agreement on. We certainly, Senator Bozeman and I talk all the time. What I will tell you is that I remember, I feel like the old, back in the day. I remember 2014. My partner is Chairman Lucas in the House, who was terrific. So glad he's back on the House committee. But we had passed a bill, strong bipartisan bill in the Senate, and it went down the first time in the House. Anybody remember that? I mean, I've been around long enough to see this stuff is not easy. Luckily, I have a House pass as a former House member and a Senate member. So when it came up again for a vote, I sat on the House floor. I was probably the one person allowed to be not a member that was lobbying the entire time the vote went on. And we passed it the second time. But what does not work is playing politics of food assistance and nutrition against everything else in the Farm Bill. That doesn't work, and it won't work. So it won't work, right? And so if we don't do that, we will get a Farm Bill. We will get a Farm Bill, and I believe we will. But it was interpreted. I said something with Secretary Vilsack. I will just close with this. I was at the White House, and it got very blown up and misinterpreted. It seems like in this sensitivity these days, everything kind of gets blown up and taken out of context. But I had said that I will not have my legacy cutting food assistance for Americans. That if that's the way you have to get a Farm Bill, or taking away conservation money from farmers, that if that's the way you have to get a bill, then, we'll continue 2018 for another year or whatever, which, by the way, the commodity title has been paying out almost every year, triggering, and it wasn't bad. I'd love to do more. I would love to do more. But this idea that I'm going to have my legacy be doing something that's never been done before, to take money away from families who are barely making it, to be able to get a Farm Bill, I can't do that. I can't do that. So I want a Farm Bill. I want a Farm Bill. I want a Farm Bill that we can all be very proud of, that will actually get Democratic votes as well as Republican votes. I can suggest things to you right now that won't get one Republican vote, that my caucus would love. But I wouldn't do that because I know that's not how you get a Farm Bill. So for me, we have so much that we can do together. When we talk about bio-based economy and trade and conservation and expanding what we are doing for our fruits and vegetables, who are almost half the cash receipts in the country, but actually don't qualify for the commodity title and need other things in the Farm Bill coalition. All the things, trade marketing assistance, marketing loans. I could go right on through all the things that I think we need to fix, we need to improve. But we need to do it together, not by pitting one group against another. It won't get it done. And as I said, I've been around long enough to know how it gets done and how it doesn't get done. And I want to get it done. Thank you.